Okay, let's get started. So, pro-male revolutionary direct action was a former member of the pro-male collective, and there was a big split. I think it's like 6 years ago or 7 years ago now. It's quite a long time ago. I think it was like 2000. No, it was like 5 years ago the split. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So he split from us, and this is not an outreach video to him. We don't want anything to do with him. Remember, I'm not the only one that feels like this. Okay, the four pillars don't want anything to do with pro-male revolutionary, and we don't have to go into reasons why, because this is not a video about that, the split. It's a video about pro-male revolutionary's tactics and what he's doing wrong. Okay, so he can take this as criticism if he ever watches it, but I doubt he's ever going to do so, but whatever. Okay, no accusations of nihilism, moral relativism, no science worship. So, because you're an anti-natalist, people are going to accuse you of being a nihilist. Okay, and anti-natalism is just navel gazing. No accusations of nihilism or such lazy accusations that shut down the conversation. No preaching moral relativism or scientism. Just because you don't agree with us doesn't mean we don't have our own any structured beliefs, principles, or morality. We reject moral relativism on the grounds that society wouldn't exist without some basic morality in the first place. Okay, so we don't have to read all that. No biological material reductionism, determinism or accusations, social engineering, no blank statism, no fatalism. Okay, I agree with the no fatalism and the no blank statism. The blank statism is a feminist tactic and it's gaslighting and it should be rejected. Biological reductionism is tradcon, right? I lean more towards the biological reductionism, but I'm not against biological reductionism per se. It's just that tradcons who don't understand about biology just make many leaps in logic. They'll make a declaration and say this is how things naturally are, and just assume it's so. When quite often they're mistaken, right? Like male disposability being natural is actually not true, but whatever. Biological reductionism is using biology as a reason to justify human rights violations, legal discrimination, or any form of injustice against men. Yeah, and biological reductionists are never consistent. So when it's a group they don't like and they don't care about, they'll use biology to justify the discrimination. But when they're being discriminated against or they feel discriminated against their group, they'll freak out and call foul play and say it's unfair and it's unnatural. Right? Okay? Called up blank statism here, don't need to read this. Okay? So this is good stuff. Okay? Yeah? Conversely, no mysticism or worship the divine, feminine or masculine. Be specific. So this is actually good stuff as well. It's voiding vagueness here, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay, this is the first big mistake. No status or subculture discussions. No talking about low, high status men. This always leads to counterproductive talks about what women want or like in men, and which men are more deserving of respect and protection. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Right? There are low and high status men. Status is very important to men. Low status men get treated worse and suffer more from the misandrist structural violence aimed at men. Right? Okay, they suffer the most of the results, so it has real life consequences. And low status men deserve to know the truth about their plight and how society sees them. Okay? There are no distinct boundaries between low status and high status men. The fact that status has a connotation beyond just wealth makes the term even more vague. It's not vague, right? This is just bullshit because it's measurable. High status men have got better life outcomes than low status men, right? It's measurable, so it's not vague. This is real world consequences. The last thing we need is a movement to get bogged down in pointless culture wars and celebrity gossip. While feminism has a negative impact on culture in general, focus on pop culture and entertainment is a waste of time and resources. Men have far more serious pressing issues to deal with. This is wrong again. Okay? There's a reason why feminists go after culture and have culture wars, because it's part of their full spectrum dominance strategy. They do it because it works. If they shape the culture and they change the culture, that means they get to brainwash and propagate future generations and make their worldview seep into the default. The entire pop culture is full of feminism. Their worldview becomes the default. It becomes the invisible water that the fish live in, right? Okay, so this is wrong again. You're not interested in it, so therefore you don't want to deal with it. That's your mistake, actually. And pop culture wars is a good way to recruit people, right? This is why feminists do it. They go for the full spectrum social dominance, full spectrum political dominance. We have to copy them. It's worked for them. Okay? No defending traditional gynocentrism or gender roles. Gynocentrism doesn't exist, right? Okay, so let's go on to the next one. He did it. Posts. He did some more rules. Rules to the channel on the back server. No sexual reductionism, fetishism. Discussions about hypergamy, abortion, genetics, race mixing, racial purity, birth rates, and deviant, unconventional sexualities are also irrelevant. Okay, so this is the biggest red flag of them all, and it proves to me you're not serious. If you don't want to talk about hypergamy, you don't want to talk about anything, right? Hypergamy is female nature, and hypergamy is based on exclusion of low status men, right? It's an exclusion instinct. It's actually part of female social dominance and social aggression against men. It's part of female structural violence against men as well. That's what drives structural violence against men as well, female hypergamy. Okay? So you just want to pretend it doesn't exist, right? Abortion. Abortion should be talked about because abortion is a frontline fight in female supremacy. It's female eugenics. Okay? Women get to decide who lives and dies, and I reject that paradigm. They don't get to decide who lives or dies, right? Okay? Women should be banned from aborting, full stop. Okay? Because they've already decriminalised abortion in the UK, and they tried to decriminalise baby murder for the first week for women as well in some US states. So it's a slippery slope. Women are not the gatekeepers of life, period. If you're not prepared to challenge that, you're not a men's rights activist, or you're not pro-male. Okay? These culture wars or issues that distract from male disempowerment, what people choose to do with their own body and with considering adults behind closed doors is nobody else's business. So he's mixing hypergamy and abortion with genetics, race mixing, in racial purity and birth rates. So he's mixing toxic issues with the two most important male issues, or some of the most important male issues. Hypergamy feeds into a lot of other things. It causes a lot of things, right? It's the reason why the family court is the way it is, right? And women get to gatekeep the family unit. And abortion is just baby murder. There's something wrong with you if you don't want to stop baby murder, right? If women consider that their baby's property, they can just murder them, they can just abort them, the logical extension of that is that women will be allowed to kill them when they're born, and they'll be allowed to circumcise them, right? Okay? All that matters is that men have as much bodily autonomy as women. So he's giving into the false feminist framing of body autonomy, which is a fucking stupid argument. Abortion is not body autonomy, it's baby murder, right? Okay, and you can't compare circumcision to abortion. The bottom line is we don't want issues we cannot change to derail from the issues we can change. We can change abortion. If you also discuss human behaviour, do it in psychology on any channel where it's relevant, or have the topic on the topic at hand. Right, give me. I'm just going to pause. Okay, let's get back to it. Okay. So. No racism, homophobia, national chauvinism or bigotry of any kind. Although we're critical of trans ideology, we do not wish to scapegoat trans or anyone else for the matter either. No cultural supremacy or ethno-nationalism. Okay? Just no defending anti-democratic regimes or human rights violations. So this is nonsense. Democracy doesn't exist. Most countries are pseudo-democracies. So this sounds like pro-Western nonsense. Right? So it's not about defending authoritarian regimes. I don't know who's defending authoritarian regimes. They just exist, right? And the West are the biggest backers of anti-democratic authoritarian regimes. Can you point to me any true democracy, right? We live in a pseudo-democracy in the West, right? Like in the UK. Like the vast majority of the population didn't want abortion decriminalised. It was passed anyway, right? Okay. We don't live in a democracy, so this is like a this is the sort of issues we don't talk about. We don't talk about these issues, right? So majority rule form of democracy can never be an excuse for discrimination, exploitation, or oppression. Okay, so what do you do when it is? So let's say they vote to oppress the minority. Do you just ignore it, go against democracy, right? Okay. So no derailing of purity spirals. Okay. No derailing of both sides have issues. Blah blah blah. Okay, he calls out MGTOW. This is basic core foundational stuff. So right, so blah blah blah. So the abortion issue is a big red flag, and pro-male revolutionary is an anti-natalist and he's pro-abortion, so he's pro-baby murder. So you actually can't be pro-male, right? This is not a purity spiral. It's a core issue, right? Okay, you can't be pro-male because if you're pro-abortion, you're female supremacist. And I've already explained in videos why abortion is bad and why the logic behind defending abortion doesn't make sense. Our position in the pro-male collective is more ethically consistent than yours, right? Okay, like people like we shouldn't live in like a ANCAP society where landlords control access to water and make people pay for it, and they go, my land, my choice. It's the same logic as my body, my choice. Laws restrict our bodies all the time, right? Body autonomy, like what the fuck? The baby's in the woman, it's her responsibility to bear the life, yeah? It's the same logic as my hands, these are my hands, don't force me to feed my own kids. I'm allowed to let them starve to death if I want. No, I shouldn't have to be forced to pick up the phone and phone the social services to take the kids away and adopt them. I can just leave them to starve to death if I want. My hands, my choice. It's the same retarded logic, yeah? Okay? So yeah, you're on the road to nowhere, basically, because you want to deny hypergamy, one of the core issues that everyone denies. One of the more important issues, yeah? And you want to deny that talking about low status and high status men, like, okay, I don't know what you're trying to achieve. And here's another thing is I can't find it, right? You're going about real world activism, right, a lot. I think it's somewhere on here, all right, I can't be bothered reading through all of it. The thing is, if you don't organise effectively online, you're never going to do real world activism, okay? It's not going to work. You're going to make a fool of yourself like you've done on a couple of your videos, right? You're shy, you're nervous, you're intimidated, and you're bullied, right? And you're spoken over, okay? You love to posture a lot, but that's the truth, yeah? That's the truth. Everyone thought you made a fool of yourself when you turned up to those trans rallies and just like, just interjected yourself and made yourself irrelevant, made yourself look foolish. So you posture a lot. If you can't organise online, you're not organising in the real world. Online organisation's easier. You can't do that, you're not going to do real world stuff. So it's posturing. Okay, right? It's like a weird false dichotomy. You want to posture over her, yeah? So yeah, I've got nothing else to say. Good luck. You're going to need it because you're not going to get anything done. And this is an example of what we're like, moving away from and how we've evolved and how we're actually superior to all the other groups. Because I predict this is not going to last. Right, it's going to die off again, right? Because PMR, you're very off-putting to people. You turn people against you. I'm not saying this is a personal attack. I'm just saying this is the truth, right? Because I'm not going to name any names because there's people I speak to now. There's people who are pissed off and they went over to your faction and you drove them away and they don't want anything to do with you. More than one, quite a few actually. Yeah, they don't want anything to do with you, right? Okay, so maybe you can reflect, learn and evolve, right, on this, but yeah, like if you're a weird anti-natalist and you think women should be able to kill children that have just been born, because I remember that now, if you think that, normal people don't want anything to do with you, yeah, okay. over and out.